people fool us, the people lie to us, the government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not go. I said we tired with their lies, we tired with their promises that led us to all our damages. We tired with that speech they preach indeed, and now unique they deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrates us. So why can you lie?
People lying, people lying. People lie all the time. Only a system can check lies, right, Josh?
Well, you need to have systems to check lies, but you also need to have people who are committed to the truth. And unfortunately, we don't have that.
No, it's really sorely lacking, And I don't know how we get there, but we gotta keep trying. We gotta keep trying to find those people who want the reality, want the truth, and will work their hardest to make the truth happen. So how you been? We'll be on a little hiatus for.
Well, I really can't complain. I've been very, very busy. Just trying to get. This is a slow time for us, so we spend a lot of time doing kind of the things to get ready for September when the snowbirds are coming back.
Right. So for some of our people who don't know what snowbirds mean, just break it down a little bit, because this is all about educating.
Okay, snowbirds are a population of people who, like real snowbirds, travel from one location to the other depending on the weather. So in Arizona, because it gets really, really hot in the summer, we have people who travel up north to places like Montana, Wyoming, and all of those kind of places. And then they come back in the winter when it gets cold up there. And they're here from usually September to, I would say, June, May. So the population of Arizona essentially grows by about 25%. Okay, in the winter months. And Florida is the same way. You have a lot of people who fly down to Florida in the winter and go back home to their home state.
Is there any kind of similar migration kind of pattern like that in Liberia or Africa for any reason, except maybe?
Well, not really, because we only have 2 seasons. Okay, and in neither of those 2 seasons is it unlivable,
terrible or extreme. Yeah.
Right. So it's different. I mean, in the rainy season, you're just not going to travel from Monrovia to Harper. Well, you might not even do that in the dry season.
We're not rich.
So there's that.
Yeah. Okay. So, we want to say greetings to our listeners, especially those who will be reviewing this material later, because I think a significant portion of people who check us out do that not live but after the fact, and we really, really appreciate that. We've been appreciating the feedback. There's always a lot to talk about, but we have to be selective. But something that's really grasped the national attention recently was the protests by the
kids from SUP,
the Student Unification Party folks from the University of Liberia, and then a supposed counter protest, which was not really a counter protest, by the young people from the CDC, the Coalition of Democratic Change, or Congress for Democratic Change, COP, Council of Patriots. So, George, do you have a little background on this whole Council of Patriots thing and how they began?
Well, I don't have a little background, but I think in the interest of time, I think most people in Liberia know what's going on. I have some questions.
Okay.
And so my first question is, were the SUP people authorized to demonstrate?
No, they were not authorized. They just had put a word, probably like 2-3 weeks before or something, that they were demonstrating at that particular time.
And where were they demonstrating? I mean,
They were
So
up Benson Street. You know where the U.S. Embassy is now?
yes.
Up Benson Street. Yes, that's where they were demonstrating.
Okay. That's my first question. The anti-protesters,
right?
Are they identified members of the CDC?
Yes, fully identified. And just a little perspective quickly. They may have been CDC members before or whatever, but they were a part of the Council of Patriots with Costa and the rest of them. And then I believe probably after June 7th or some incident happened, they broke away. They kind of suspended them, and then they kind of resigned. And then they matriculated to the CDC. They had a whole big program, for them, receiving them, welcoming them. And subsequently, they conferred a PhD on Jefferson Koji, a doctorate degree on Jefferson.
Okay. So here's my thing. One of the things that you can always do in America, as opposed to Liberia, is you can sue people out of existence.
True.
Okay. Just after a reconstruction, the U.S. passed something called the Anti-Klan Act. And that Anti-Klan Act was to allow people to sue the Ku Klux Klan for these terrorist activities against Black people. So, I believe it was under, and I stand to be corrected here, it was under the Anti-Klan Act that Emmett Till's mother sued the Ku Klux Klan. So I'm not sure that we have something like that. But if these people were CDC partisans in an organization, these people, I really believe that finding a good lawyer, these people can sue the CDC.
Oh, well, a question they can sue the CDC because there's enough links to know that the hierarchy in the CDC and even the government, with the presence of police officers there, and they're smiling at the situation.
Okay, so then they can also sue the Liberian National Police for failure to protect them from violence.
Well, a question. They can.
Okay, and what I'm saying is, we can demonstrate against the government, but we have to find another way to add sanctions to them.
Oh,
so these people acting, these people acting as members of the CDC would confer some sort of liability to the CDC and its officials in general.
Yes, I agree. Okay, some kind of accountability for this. You can't
exactly. It's not simply about arresting the hooligans and putting them in jail.
No, the leadership.
It's about holding the officials, the Jefferson Kojis of the country, personally liable for violence that is carried out in their name.
And they were clear about it. These guys were demonstrating on the theme "Fix the country." They believe the country needs to be fixed. And anybody who doubts that the country needs to be fixed, something wrong with them. Either they're not really Liberian, or they're just overly sycophantic and just don't want to recognize the ills that exist in our country today. So these guys are demonstrating clearly to the U.S. Embassy, not disrupting anything that had to do with the Independence Day celebration that was probably going down on Ashburn Street or at the barracks, wherever they were celebrating it or recognizing it. And for them to come with the intent, it's not like, typically we see counter demonstrations here all the time. When I protested against Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf for corruption at the UN, we're in a section space across, and the counter protesters, because Unity Party the government sent money to Liberia, to the US, to Unity Party there, and they were protesting across on the other side. So people understand the dynamics of protest and counter protest, and they try to separate those groups. Unfortunately, in this case, though the police were aware that the Sioux folks are going to be protesting, as well as these counter protesters were going to be coming, because you can say you don't have you have a national security agency, or you have police, you have CID, you have all these people who are supposed to feed you information and not be aware that these folks were coming, and the potential for violence and clashing was going to be evident. So to the extent that these people came and disrupted in the name of the CDC COP with the approval of the leadership, all of these things definitely somebody got to be accountable for.
And the thing is, the approval doesn't have to even be, yes, you guys should go and do that.
And for example,
the approval can be failure to stop them from doing it.
And that's where leadership is, and that's
no, that's not true.
He doesn't,
Abraham. That's not true.
But he doesn't understand the transference of this kind.
Nobody is transferring crimes. If a crime is committed in the name of an organization, all the people in that organization are responsible for the commission of that crime. Okay, so it's not about transferring crimes. Okay, so just if you don't know what you're talking about, just go sit down in the corner and do something else. Let's continue.
Thank you. So Abraham, don't make mistake about transference. Nobody says these folks are not responsible for their actions, but there are certain responsibilities on leadership, on organizational dynamics when it comes to these kinds of things that those people who are in leadership are responsible for. And
there are crimes such as aiding and abetting. Did somebody give them money for transportation? Did somebody give them money for food? Those are not transferable crimes. Okay, you people just jump on here. You have no clue what you're talking about, and because Facebook allows you to write, you start writing all kind of nonsense. But let's go. I'm short today with people. I don't have the time for this.
And no, they gotta understand creating an enabling environment. It could be intentional not to have police over there, which is criminal by itself. So all of these things have to be investigated and understood, by people.
And you can be guilty of a crime of omission.
No question.
Okay. What were you supposed to do that you didn't do? Okay. So sometimes just standing by and doing nothing when it is your responsibility to do something, in and of itself is a crime.
It is. Even for citizens, sometimes that will just sit and watch all the negative things. Sometimes it may not be like purely criminal, but that's a moral crime. When people see the evil things or the wicked things happening and they say nothing, or they are complicit towards those things, that is criminal with regards to people. So you can't sit there and say crime is being transferred, trying to absolve the leadership of the CDC or government of their responsibility in this particular situation where they know there's a high level of volatility, especially with the population that we are dealing with that don't have that makeup of composure, calm, engagement, rather than fighting and using violence as a means. And that's just a standard for most people, using violence as a means of resolving any kind of issue. That can work. And then the whole dehumanizing aspect of this thing, chasing that young man down and like manhandling him where I don't even know what his physical condition is right now, because one time he was very in coma, couldn't respond. Is he recovered from that coma?
So right now, what needs to happen is they need to have lawyers who are going to file civil suit against both the police for their negligence, their failure to stop the violence, and against the CDC as an organization.
Well, Tion Gonglo has, expressed that desire to take some action. Hopefully, he look at a very big picture and is inclined to do exactly what you are suggesting. That through the entire book at this situation, because we can have this. We understand the government is on the ropes. We understand the elections are coming up, but you cannot use violence, intimidation, and threats. Organizing militia organizing auxiliary groups that are militant in posture to be able to intimidate the electorate. Because
and when they begin to attach the properties, the assets of the Jefferson Kojis and the Samuel Twares and the Nathaniel McGill. I don't know if anybody wants to own a mausoleum, but hey, attach that shit too. Okay. But when they start attaching those things,
no,
leadership will become more responsible, because it means that every act committed in the name of the organization puts them at risk.
Yeah, and it's about the justice system, though, the independence in that system. Can we rely on this justice system to really look at this case and some of the issues of the case are just so clear, cut and dry. You don't even have to go much the video.
But I don't think we can rely on the justice system, because the authorities only responded after there was an international outcry.
And that's the sad part.
Okay. So my point is, we have to have a multi-pronged approach. We have to go after these people civilly, as well as demanding justice. Those two are not the same, because here's the thing. Even if they are prosecuted, the perpetrators are prosecuted to the full extent of the law, you can still sue the CDC for monetary damages.
And that's what needs to happen. The individuals and the organization should all be bunched and sued. And it can set a precedent. It can really hinder this kind of action, from being replicated, because now other people will be inclined to form their own militias. Then what is the country going to, when everybody can form, the people can be able to bring collars, being able to bring bottles, be able to bring rocks to any kind of situation and disrupt and hurt people, innocent people. So there's a lot to be learned from this situation. We empathize and sympathize with our man, Chris Susili, and we just hope that he can fully recover. But the long-term impact of this, if nothing is done, will reverberate for years to come on our people. So, hello, my people. We're happy to be back, man. Thank you for, your input on this. Hoxton, Brooks, we've been around, but some of us were on vacation. We had to take a little break.
So this Facebook user at 11 o'clock says, you guys should continue insulting women at this point live. I don't know which women I insulted.
No, you can't bother with those kind of comments. Some of these guys are just here to disrupt the discussion, and we can't give them the time of the day. I believe in freedom of speech. I know you definitely do, because you always feel whatever the other person can say, you're able to understand what they say and repudiate it or dismiss them.
But I have a very low tolerance for stupidity.
Yeah, but then
very low.
So
let me just advise you guys. I love your comments, but if you're going to make a comment, come strong to the mic. Okay? Have a way to back up what you're saying. If you want to get on air and have a discussion, but don't stand on the sideline hiding behind, your grandmother's skirt and making all kind of noise.
But that's what most people do. They cannot come and debate this issue intelligently. They cannot come and defend this government, or this action of these people. All they can say is, the people didn't have permit. You think if somebody doesn't have permit to
it's not a license to commit violence against them.
To commit violence against them, you got no right to even counter protest and encroach on the space that they are occupying. That's the right.
Okay. And if you felt that they didn't have a permit, the rightful action would be to say to the police, these guys don't have a permit. Let the police go and disrupt them.
Exactly.
You going to disrupt them means that you have taken on to yourself the job of the police.
Yes.
Okay. And the fact that the police stood around it means that they allowed you to break the law by usurping their authority.
They were being
these are not difficult concepts to understand.
No, they're not. But people reject them simply because of sycophancy or because of some maybe cultish mindset that they feel they have to support something and be a part of something,
So that but what I find really striking is the CDC went through this same process with Ellen Salif.
I will get to that.
And I was a supporter of Ellen Salif. But at every level, I supported the CDC's right to peacefully protest. And that's what governance is about.
That's what it is. People have to express themselves, and democratic can express it through marching, through demonstration, through picketing.
It even got so bad at one point that the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration tried to stop a demonstration by suggesting that there was an earthquake that was forecast for from Monrovia.
I remember that. No, but there was a seismic shakeup.
Man, look, there was no earthquake forecast for Liberia. You know how far Liberia is from the plate that would cause an earthquake? I get earthquake notifications from the U.S. Geological Services every morning at 4. You can subscribe to it, and it would tell you everywhere there was an earthquake on the face of the earth. So I get that. And so you can go and see there was an earthquake something like 4,000 miles off the coast of Liberia.
Right.
It was never going to affect Liberia. But, if you want to stop a demonstration and people are ignorant, you say there's an earthquake forecast.
Or even rain. If they had said rain, it would have been better because our people are scared of rain. So, but the other point somebody raised, and I did talk to somebody about that. Even if these folks didn't have a permit, the counter protesters did not have a permit.
Right.
So what is the point? I mean,
but here's the thing. Are they really counter protesters? That's the question. We have to try to frame this argument in such a way. So if I'm demonstrating before the U.S. Embassy and you bring a group to beat me up, you're not a counter protesting group. A counter protesting group, one group says, fix the country. The other group stands up and says, don't fix the country.
Our country is fixed. No need.
Right. Okay, so that's a counter protest. One group opposes the other. If your organization's mission is to essentially beat us up, then you're not a counter protester. You're a violent disruptor. So to call them counter protest kind of reframes the argument for them to say that they were even right to be there.
George, continue. Let me get my charger.
So, but at the end of the day, I see what Doric Poe is saying, but listen, I think it's not supporting George Weah anymore. I never supported George Weah in the CDC. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that freedom of speech means freedom of speech. You can't go around beating people up. And my thing is, there has to be a lawsuit filed that will attach the properties of Jefferson Koji, of whoever the head of CDC is, of McGill, and all of these people. And it's when they know that their properties are at risk, even when they understand that their properties are at risk for identification, it will give them pause.
And that was the same thing. Somebody gave me an example. When we first came to this country, Joe, how did you buy a newspaper like USA Today?
Oh, you had to go to the newspaper stand.
No, the ones that were like, remember they had this thing that you could put your quarter in, open it up,
and it would dispense the newspaper, right?
You take it out, you know.
Right.
But how many newspapers? Most people took a one. They respected that and they understood that if you take more, there could be some kind of repercussion.
Right.
Traffic. But in our environment, there is no repercussion because people in authority have that impunity that they can always change the rules to their benefit.
Well, I agree with that. I agree with that. But the other thing is also that, you know, there's a societal thing that we're dealing with in Liberia, and it's extreme poverty. And extreme poverty forces people to make every decision a life-altering decision. So let me give you an example. The example of the newspaper. You put your 2 quarters in there, the door opens, and you grab your one paper and you go. In Liberia, somebody who can put 2 quarters in a machine and the machine just opens up and all the papers are exposed, they can now take 4 of those papers and go and sell them to somebody else to alter their life. And what I'm saying here is I don't think people really understand how stifling and disabling poverty is in Liberia. In America, it doesn't matter how much cash you don't have. You know, I come back to this thing about freedom from want and freedom from fear that Roosevelt addressed in his last inaugural address.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom from want in America means that when you wake up in the morning, you are not spending time worried about the essentials of being alive.
True.
Okay? You know you're going to get a meal. You know you're going to have shelter. You know you're going to have transportation to and from work. There are millions of people who wake up in Liberia every day and they have no clue on that particular day where they're going to get those things.
Right.
And that kind of desperate poverty makes people susceptible. So yeah, it's dishonesty in their part. But let me tell you something. If that's what I needed to do to survive,
that's what I'll do.
Then that's what I would do to survive.
That's a fact. That's
so a lot of the crimes of opportunity that happen in the society among people who are poor come from the fact that these people are so desperately poor that if I can put $1 or 50 cents in the Coke machine and figure out how to get 4 Cokes and go and sell the 4 that I didn't drink, I'm going to do that.
But George, look at the risk that people take. If you steal 50 cent bitter ball in a market and you start running when they catch you, most likely you could die. But people still steal. So it's so desperate for some people that they will take that risk to steal and probably get caught and mobbed to death, or go into neighborhoods that they don't even really know that well to go steal. So it's a real desperation in the moment that people are living in Liberia, and it's not the way it's supposed to be. There can be change if people can understand that leadership matters. Leadership is everything. And until we can help our people understand that it's not about tribe, it's not about friendship, it's not about, oh, I like the man. It's about what can this person do to make a difference for our people. And until
so let me address S. Jimmy here. Okay, let me tell you what I don't like to do, Jimmy. I don't like to do what I call whataboutism or both sidesism. Okay? Both the government and the opposition are taking advantage of our children.
That's nonsense.
If that's your position, then you will accomplish nothing. The opposition is exactly that. They exist in opposition to the government, and they have a right to state their case against the government. To the extent that the government must represent itself, it must do so in a manner that is non-violent and that doesn't use the state to commit violence against the opposition. So this position that that both of them are taking advantage of your children is a stupid position. And you shouldn't even try to be pushing that nonsense, because anybody who comes with that, it tells me that you're actually a government supporter who is trying to soften the crime of the government by saying everybody does it.
That's what he's doing. He's all the time in my inbox trying to make this case for everything to make it whataboutism. And the sad thing is he's trying to say these students don't have an issue. These students,
but everybody doesn't have the responsibility of government and governance. That's what he doesn't understand. It is the government's responsibility to stop violence.
Well,
okay, it is the government's responsibility to provide security.
It's in the Constitution.
So the fact that you would come and say both of them are doing the same thing is nonsense.
Yeah, he tries to
act and because you can read and write, I don't even believe that you're writing it because you're ignorant. I believe you're writing it because you're dishonest.
He is dishonest.
That's what it comes to.
He's not facing the truth. He's trying to exempt government from their responsibility of ensuring the peace and security of people, that property, life protected. Government is not protected.
The Constitution of Liberia allows for freedom of assembly. Maybe you need to read the Constitution.
No, most people have not read our Constitution. And
but it allows for freedom of association and it allows for freedom of assembly.
And I believe,
and the government has a responsibility to protect that right. And you come in here with this both sides nonsense. Try harder, man.
I truly believe if our international partners had not said something, the George Weah would not have really said something, because they knew this was coming and they were clear. They did a joint statement. And they said the international community in Liberia, having learned with concern of the serious violence committed in Monrovia on 26 July, condemned without reservation such acts which occurred on the 175th anniversary of independence. We urge a prompt and thorough investigation by the police that will bring to justice the instigators. You have noticed that word, instigators and perpetrators of these acts of violence. So they're not focusing just on, who actually did the act. No, who all created the opportunity for the act. So they say we welcome the swift condemnation by political, government, and civil society actors of the violent acts which occurred, and we encourage all political leaders to act firmly in preventing and eliminating political intolerance and violence. Liberia has a record of free, fair, and transparent elections over the last 2 decades, making this country an example of stability and democracy in the region. That's a little questionable, but we can let it pass. Violence is not the right way to resolve disputes. You just said that, George. Definitely is not. Political differences should be resolved by dialogue. We therefore encourage all actors to act responsibly and embrace the principles of tolerance, democracy, and constitutionalism for an inclusive, transparent, and peaceful election process in Liberia 2022 to 2023.
So let me tell you how stupid these people in the government are, okay? And these people are organically stupid. If I were mayor of Monrovia and somebody was planning a demonstration to fix the country, I'm joining that demonstration. you understand? I'm joining the demonstration. You know what? I agree with you.
But the government,
we need to fix the country. So let's all demonstrate that. I want to show you that I'm just as passionate about fixing the country as you guys are. We might disagree on how to fix it, okay? But let's all demonstrate together. Let me tell you why I saw this. After the George Floyd killing, there was one place where the people were planning demonstration, the police chief joined the demonstration. Okay,
Yes,
so
yes, he did.
yes, I was like, this guy got it down. The police chief joined the demonstration. He was in the front of the line. At that point, what are you going to say?
You can't say anything. This is the
You
government.
can't say he doesn't agree with it. You understand? So
agree
I would have joined the demonstration and said, yes, we want to fix the country. We know that this and this and this is wrong. Koji cannot tell you that everything about the country is good. Even he would tell you there are things that are bad that need to be fixed.
But
so
he
I
said
myself,
himself.
I'm going to demonstrate so we can fix those things.
And it's all about the insecurity. They feel
Yes.
like if they agree that things are wrong, then that means automatically other power. But no, you got to recognize the truth. And that's why you're saying we don't have a disposition towards honesty. You know, we can't really look at this terrible situation we are in and say, look, it's terrible. Things are not happening right now. We don't have the international credibility. Investment is not coming here. We don't have the environment. We have not created an enabling and favorable environment to investments. We need to change.
We are the third poorest country in the world. Okay? We are the third poorest country in the world.
And
what is it that people like Jimmy and them don't understand? That every time an organization has to put out a statement like this about violence in Liberia, that affects investors who are even looking at Liberia.
Yes, they don't understand that.
Okay? Because until the government can put a stop to this, who knows if the next one will not blow up?
And people, I mean,
okay? And this is what you all don't understand.
Investment is not free. People spend other people's money when it comes to do business.
And the threat that somebody could come in and say, we're going to put $500,000 or so, and it could be disrupted by violence, you know, it's a problem.
It is a big problem. Melvin, I don't know what the Melvin Deschi, I don't know what the spin from the police is. But if it's anything that you know, they can't find the people, or they can't investigate, or they want to blame the other group, that's complete nonsense. So if you can just write and share what they are saying, that would be wonderful and help us get a context of what the spin is. But you know, the CIA has a page on Liberia. They have a page on every country. And
every country.
Investors go to those pages to analyze the investment risk that they will have. If we can't even insure contracts, we can't even insure peace and stability, and there could be potential destruction of investments, people are not coming here. That's the first thing that people look for. They look for physical safety before even they look for their investment safety in terms of protecting their investment into the country. So if we don't understand these things as Liberians, and we just want because, oh, somebody popular, or because we like that person, so that's our leader, and we don't recognize all the other faults that come with it, we will be in excuse me, but this shithole situation for the longest time, you know, and we don't want to be there. There's so much opportunity, so much talent among Liberians, wherever way you take it. Just this morning, I got informed by one of my friends, a young Liberian, 16-year-old. Jay went to his mom in Houston or in San Antonio area, and my man Pittman worked him out. And the kid is very good. He has potential. Yes, he's challenged in terms of height because you know we do suffer from stunted growth and malnutrition.
Low nutrition.
So we don't grow like we should. But if he can, he's only 16, there's potential there for him to be able to grow. So he's not limited in any way now. He got the potential to expand his talents, even if not in sports, in other areas. That is seen with many young people on the ground. They have the potential. There's just so much stuff that we can do as a people, you know, from the business end, the outsourcing that in the world today, and for the way speaking English is natural to most Liberians, and we can acclimate to proper English fast, to scripted English fast, there's huge opportunity there. The practical aspect of technology in Liberia, with all those children learning, there's a whole need for people in the cybersecurity area, in different areas, whether from penetration testing, whether doing risk management framework documents and all those kind of things. There are opportunities there, and it can be taught to do those things easily. So job creation has huge opportunity in Liberia if we can just open up our economy in a way that welcomes people who want to invest and want to make a difference. But if we have this tight environment that restrictive, that people can see that there is stability, there is peace, that their properties, their investments can be secure, there's nobody coming to Liberia. So it just really
and the other thing is, when it comes to investments, is the fact that government officials hold their hand out for part of this investment just by the fact that they are government officials. And we don't have a way of knowing what they're getting, which brings me back to my constant refrain. Once we can attach bank accounts to Social Security, to national ID numbers, and get rid of physical currency, that money has to be put somewhere. And at some point, you will have to explain why you got this $20,000 payment from a potential investor if you are a lawmaker.
Right. No, I mean, and that's what, if you have a system, if you got accountability, you got a capability of identifying this movement of all these finances around, you can hold people more accountable. But I think most of our people who are being in leadership don't want this stuff because they feel that their roguishness will be monitored more effectively than anything else. Look, Eric, the man tired with all the corruption and all the bad things. But George,
Eric, I look tired to you.
No, man, if you get there, all can I provoke?
I look tired to you.
No, Joseph.
No, Joseph. I'm not intolerant of people's views. I just have a very low tolerance for stupidity. Because here's what I believe. I don't believe that most of the people who post in opposition to what we say, I don't believe they're stupid. I believe they know exactly what they're doing. But they have a different interest in terms of being disruptive. So if you're going to come on here and say something to be disruptive that doesn't make sense, I'm going to call you out on your stupidity. Listen, I'm not running for anything, and I don't care if people like me. You know, I'll tell you a story, Andrew. I was talking to my mom one time, and I said to her, I said, you know, there are only two people in this world who, if they said they didn't love me, I would be devastated.
Your wife and your child?
Nope, not even my wife. I said I will be devastated, and the rest of the world can F off. And my mother asked me, who are those two people? I said, my two children. She said, what about your wife? I said, people leave their wives all the time.
That's true.
Okay. I said, but your children, when they tell you that they don't love you, it means that you have actually failed as a parent.
You have done a bad job.
So she said, what? She said, even me? I said, even when I said the rest of the work and F off, she said, even me? I said, yes, even you. Okay, at the end of the, if my mother told me she didn't like me, that's her problem. But if my children, so I just want you to have an understanding that I don't care if people like me. I don't like people either.
Well,
I just want to make sure that, listen, you know, here's the thing. A lot of us don't have to ever come to Liberia. We don't. But we want Liberia to be better for the people in Liberia.
And that's why some people don't understand.
At the same time, they have to want it to be better for them.
And that's my point, especially for these elections coming up.
I can't want Liberia to be better for you more than you want it to be for yourself.
Bottom line.
I can't.
So here's an angle that's interesting, George. And let's see if we can explain it so people can see it. The official cry of ABC, that's Alexander Benedict Cummings, the political leader of the Alternative National Congress, to the international community regarding the rudeness, I don't want to say rudeness, the criminality of CDC's COP 26 day was well paid attention to by the international community, he says committee, but anyway. President, we have first ever made speech of condemnation followed by arrest by the LNP and a press statement by the international community. My hat off ABC for demonstrating such a political power in the interest of not only your ANC, but for the entire nation of Liberia. And you know that is a good point, because if the pressure is not there, sometimes the powers that be don't recognize it. And that's the beauty of democracy. You got to bring pressure to bear. It's a part of democracy. And that's why people have to be allowed to have different viewpoints, to want to think differently, to want to see things done differently, to be able to criticize and complain. And it's all there in our Constitution. People are allowed to do that. But the insecurity of leadership, especially bad leadership, will try to either disrupt, prevent, and that was one of the key strategies of Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She was able to prevent. And she disrupted some of them, but she was able to use financial violence to prevent a lot of it. But maybe the people in power today, don't have that finesse, maybe don't have the funds to try to marginalize people or to use financial violence to get what they want. But until we really, really allow people to be free, and government can go make a case. Somebody can come and protest and say X, Y, Z, fix the country. If government know they're on a trajectory of fixing the country, they can come on air and say, look, that protest by the supers was not worth it. What are they saying about fixing the country? They talking about roads. Yeah, the roads we have built. They talking about education. Yes, what we have done. They talking about healthcare. Yes, what we have done there. They're talking about entrepreneurship in Liberia. Yes, what we have done for the Yanambo, the market women, and other small businesses. Unfortunately, this government does not have that performance record to indicate what they have done so positively in all these different sectors to move the country forward. And
every protest is an opportunity for the government, like Isaac was just saying. Every protest is an opportunity for the government to come and say, this is what we have done, this is what we are doing, and this is where we want to be now in 5 years from now.
Right, a clear vision, a clear plan.
Every protest is an opportunity for the government.
But insecurity,
to see
not like that.
Every protest as an attack on the government that can only be responded to by violence, then it tells me that the government doesn't have the ability, they don't have the accomplishments that they claim to have.
Superficial. A lot of times it's superficial. So, as we look forward, George, I mean, what can we expect from this? The police have arrested some people. Some people are still wanted. They're on the run. They're in hiding. And I don't know if the police is coming out to really say what is the extent, because there were a significant number of people. I know they're trying to round up the ringleaders, but that video showed a significant number of people physically assaulting other people, and their faces were very clear. So I don't know what they intend to do in that regard.
So here's my question. The people who were arrested, what were they arrested for, and have they been charged?
Good question. I don't know. They have been charged.
Well, you have to have some sort of you understand, because you have to have some sort of probable cause to arrest somebody. You can arrest them for suspicion that they committed a crime. You can't just say, "Oh, the man was there, so we arrested him." So everybody who was arrested, they have to have at least some preliminary charge, and the police can say, "Well, we know this guy was there. We saw him throwing rocks, but we will develop the crimes later." So let's look, for example, at the January 6th investigation in the US. This thing has been going on for almost 18 months. But they are still arresting new people as more facts come to light and charging them.
Fact. But
okay, so we're not waiting. We shouldn't have to wait for them to arrest everybody.
No.
The ones that they have arrested, they should at least begin to charge them.
But there are laws about that. You can't
right.
Pre-trial detention. You can't just detain people without having a cause for detaining them and then putting them through trial. So you're right. You're totally correct. The justice system should function. Everybody does not have to be there. If there's some of the people who acted and know the participants who are right in the video with them, and they can identify them to get arrested, then you deal with those people. But you cannot hold up the justice process because you can't find some of the perpetrators. No, you can't. You can't do that. So this is an interesting point. It's clear that the CC government doesn't want citizens to exercise their democratic right. They have violently disrupted the last 3 protests during the last 12 months. This is a pattern. Yes, and that's what is so amazing to me, George. I was a member of the CDC, and I really do believe in protests. I believe in demonstration. I believe in expression of the people. And even there were times when they say, you can march in the street. I say, okay, you just walk on the sidewalk and get to your point where you can assemble, because assembly is a right. You can assemble. And for this government that participated probably in the most protests of any opposition ever, to be so intimidated by protests, to not even want to allow people to protest is just mind-boggling to me. I just don't understand why they are so afraid.
Again, how do I put this? A lot of it has to do with the lack of exposure and ignorance. Okay, when you can't make an intellectual case against your detractor, but you have state power, then your only other option is violence. And because they don't know another way, or they can't defend it, we always end up at this place. And it seems that it doesn't matter which government is in power. This has been the lifeblood of Liberia in governance for as long as I can remember. But it is shocking that now the Weir government, who was a victim of this type of government action for 12 years, has decided that they will do the same thing. And the only thing I would like to admonish the government is this: to young people like Jefferson Korji, especially young people like Korji, you are going to pass from this government at some point. And if you don't create an environment that protects regular citizens, when you become a regular citizen, that environment will not be there to protect you.
Will not be protected at all. No
okay question. And this is why in other countries, people move to build these systems of protection. Because you, at some point, may need the protection and that infrastructure in government to administer justice to you.
Okay, so sometimes, like we say, we're here to educate, even though we want to educate on a bigger picture, But if people ask specific questions, sometimes we got to help. So somebody says, we haven't seen the economic plan of Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings has been explaining his economic plan day in, day out to people all over the place. But since some people are listening, I will share a little bit of what Mr. Cummings' vision is. Primarily, his vision is to move Liberia into the 21st century. And that comes with a lot. It's not an easy lift. There's significant things that would need to happen. So in terms of those things, we just look here, right? His vision is to transform Liberia into a 21st century country by investing in critical infrastructure that creates jobs and revitalizes economic growth. And, it's probably $2.5 to $3 billion to improve the entire infrastructure in Liberia. But if you strategically improve certain infrastructure, the roads that are actually leading to economic corridors, the roads that will ensure farm to market productivity, the road will ensure those products coming to be shipped out of the country when we can produce at that level, the roads that ensure that we can be able to get to different areas of the country and grow our food properly, okay? And that's the next step. Increasing investment in agriculture will be resulting food security. Prioritizing investment in human capital. We don't have a human capital plan in the country to enhance the skills of our people that's targeted, where our Ministry of Labor knows the kind of jobs that can be created in Liberia, know the kind of investors we're attracting to kind of align those skills with those particular people, improving the health. Because if you cannot prioritize your investment in human capital and you can't keep those people well, sick people cannot do the job. We got a young population. We need to keep them healthy and reduce poverty. Like George said, the desperation in a poverty-stricken nation is not easy. It affects everybody. And our concession agreement ensuring that all Liberians benefit from the wealth of our country by expanding value addition of natural resources. We can't just be shipping our stuff up for pennies on the dollar when we'll be getting 50 and 60 cents more for each item or each unit of item that we send out of this country. And definitely the whole culture of impunity, that's impunity and corruption tied directly into the economic plan. So those are the things that Mr. Cummings is primarily focused on. And because of those things, he has put them into pillars, right? He has defined them. And yeah, the pillars for people to see. So this building of 21st century Liberia, that's infrastructure, that's roads, that's electricity, water, telecom, all of that. Creating jobs and revitalizing the economy, definitely the private sector. Liberians have to own their own private sector. Private sector leads development in more country. Government just create the enabling environment. Government cannot create jobs for everybody. No, they can enhance the possibility of opportunity in the private sector for them to create jobs. Then the agriculture sector, we can't even talk about it. That's where our strength is, but we have not utilized that strength. Some of the programs that have come to Liberia with significant funding, Feed the Future, Feed Africa, all those things, they have not put those monies to direct use to impact our agriculture sector and make us self-sustaining, that we are able to achieve food security. So that needs to change. That whole mindset, that engagement with our foreign people in terms of whatever they want to support different sectors has to be sustainable and beneficial to us when they leave. Like George was saying earlier. Probably that was a different discussion we're having, George. When these foreign people come and they just leave, they take with them what to do when there's no transfer of knowledge and
or facilities or anything. I mean, listen, doesn't everybody feel that it's a shame? It's a shame that our staple food we are still importing. We're still importing rice in Liberia.
It's sad. And probably,
I mean, how long do you think with a well-managed government program we can produce enough rice to feed the country? Okay, I can tell you where the shortcoming is in producing enough rice. It's mechanization.
Or question. You can't scale up.
The people who grow rice in Liberia are still processing rice the way our ancestors processed rice 400 years ago.
Yes.
Using mortar and pestle.
We don't even have enough rice mills across the country.
Okay? Where the government could invest in infrastructure to have rice mills in so many places. But here's the thing, along the things that Mr. Cummings is talking about, let's talk about creating, just for rice, a supply chain that involves several different sectors of the economy to get rice from the farmer to the market. Because one of the places you lose productivity is if the person who plants the rice has to cut the rice and then has to sell it themselves.
Before selling
one bag at a time.
Transport it. And that's what we don't understand.
Okay. So let's say we have the farmer who's growing the rice. Okay. Then the farmer would be able to rent a machine that would come and harvest the rice. Somebody will then buy that harvested cut rice and then take it to a mill to be milled and bagged. Somebody else who owns a transportation company would then take that rice and distribute it. But everywhere along that chain where value is added, everybody gets paid, but they get paid for their efficiency. The farmer gets paid for growing his rice.
Yes, growing the food.
Okay, and that's all he does.
And that's not
so even
rice.
So exactly, I was just getting ready to say the same thing. Think about cassava. How many times do you not drive up and down Roberts Field Highway and see little children sitting on the side with buckets of cassava trying to sell cassava?
The sour, orange, plain.
That's not how you do it.
No. We stay in the 1800s.
Okay, I can literally buy cassava cleaned in a supermarket in America.
Right.
And bagged.
Clean and bagged. And that's the value.
Somebody grew that cassava in South America, in Central America.
Most likely Central America, Central South
Okay.
America.
Somebody processed that cassava. Somebody bagged it. They sold it to a large company that packaged it for export. But the people who are growing the cassava, they don't have to do all those things. That's the reason we haven't made progress in agriculture, because we haven't developed the value chain to involve multiple sectors of the economy.
Right. And agriculture is like the core of our economy. That's why if you see here, he says agri-based economy, you can focus.
Okay, so let me answer Eric's question, because I love these type of questions.
I guess
Eric,
I'm sharing what Eric said.
Did Cummings sample the views from ordinary Liberians?
Well, but hold up. That's a good question, George. You can fight him for that.
Yeah, I can fight him for that. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Okay. What do you think you need to tell me sitting here in my living room in America about the economy of Liberia that I don't already know? I dare you.
But you're moving for
anything you think you can tell me. I know you are the third poorest country in the world. Okay. If you had the ability to fix it, you wouldn't be the third poorest country in the world.
Bottom line.
Okay. You don't have the ability to fix it. If you had the common sense, if you had the view, if you had the opinion to fix it, you wouldn't be the third poorest country in the world.
Okay.
I'm not speaking for Cummings.
No,
okay?
just basic.
But this is a country where the people have low IQ and everybody is a politician. You poorer than anybody else in the world, and you really believe that I need to come to you to ask you your opinion? Okay, tell me about building a supply chain for the sale or for the growth and sale of cassava from farm to market. I will wait.
Eric can tell you. But look,
you don't know.
Let's go to the next pillar.
You just don't know.
Modernizing healthcare, George.
But you think your opinion matters? George, it doesn't.
Let Eric go. Other people trying to learn here. So modernizing healthcare. Mr. Cummings intends to focus on primary preventive healthcare and childhood immunization. Not to say that he will not focus on some of the specialty stuff. And actually, George and I were just talking about that in terms of what kind of programs, especially diaspora-related programs, that can have a rotation, or even African-related programs that can have a rotation of specialists coming through our country and trying to keep our people healthy. But probably 6 or 7 diseases are the primary things that Liberians die from: malaria, dysentery, typhoid, a few others. And when we can prevent those, or we can provide that primary initial care where that incident happens to that individual, that means we have the decentralized healthcare in all these different cities and villages. There has to be some level of healthcare, and that comes with expanding the capacity of our healthcare providers, our healthcare professionals, and ensuring they are adequate. The numbers are horrible. George can tell you, it's like 1 doctor to 1,000 people in bad countries. In Liberia, it's probably 1 doctor to like 16,000, 20,000 people.
The World Health Organization says that the average should be 1 doctor to 3,000.
There you go.
In Liberia, it's about 1 doctor to 16,000 people.
So we are way off. We are
way behind. So what we need, so I will come back to you, Eric. Tell me again about what we need to do to improve the healthcare system in Liberia. Okay? Before you talk about he's sitting in his living room behind a computer. You're in Liberia. Tell me what you would do as a citizen to improve the healthcare in Liberia, and then I would tell you if your opinion actually matters.
But George, it's just a diversion.
Because it doesn't.
It's just a diversionary thing for Eric.
You don't even but they have a tendency to do this where they want to play down people's knowledge and expertise by saying, what is the view? No, don't tell me about tolerance. You came and said, is he sitting here in his living room? You tell me, you're in front of a computer. What do you see as the main reason, the main things we need to do to improve healthcare in Liberia?
And what Eric probably doesn't understand, the one man there standing in the street that hungry that in our community, he alone does not determine all the social determinants of development, all the economic determinants. It's a compilation of information.
But here's my thing, Isaac. At one time in America, they had this party called the Know Nothing Party. Okay? And we have these people in Liberia who are the Know Nothing people. Okay? Every time somebody comes to them with an idea for change and improving the country, they're like, oh, well, you need to ask us. But you're there. Okay? Tell me how many nurses Liberia has and how you are going. So let me give you an example. The population of Liberia right now is about 4.7 million people. By 2030, the population of Liberia will be 6 million people. If you want to get the ratio of doctors from 1 to 16,000 to 1 to 8,000, do you know how many doctors you have to produce in the next 10 years while your population is increasing at the same time? You have one of the highest rates of infant mortality and maternal mortality in the world.
In the entire world. In the world.
Okay? What are you going to do to improve that?
They don't, it's not important to them. So
okay, but instead you want to focus your criticism on the fact that Cummings didn't ask your opinion. In your opinion that I'm asking you for, tell me what will be the population of Liberia in 2030, which I just told you. Tell me what it would take to reduce the ratio of doctors to patients from 1 to 16,000 to 1 to 8,000 in the next 10 years. Tell me how you are going to be able to document every child that is born in Liberia, regardless of the village they are born in, when they are born, so you can better plan for their education when they reach age 6.
Zero plan.
Okay? Tell me how you are going to do that. You see, people like you think these things happen by magic. People like me, I know there's no magic involved. There's no magic, there's no prayer, there's no hope. Hope is not a strategy.
It's not a strategy at all.
You have to have a plan.
And then
so when we talk about reducing the need for physicians, I was just telling Isaac, the one doctor, my eye surgeon, this man operates twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. And on each of those days, he does 20 lens replacement operations for cataracts. That's one doctor. So he does 40 cataracts a week. That's 160 cataracts. You know how many people, you know what? They don't even know what a cataract is. And you see those people walking around in Liberia without white thing over their eye and they look blind. That's a cataract. Okay? And you can remove that and replace it with an artificial lens.
Mama had indigenous medicine for that thing. Mama could cure it, but you know what?
And the person will be able to see. Okay? So if this one guy can replace 160 cataracts in a month, what do you think would be the value of a government having these people come, having somebody like this come to Liberia every 3 months to do these surgeries? Okay, this is what people like me think about, Eric.
Yes.
Okay, and this is why I don't need your opinion to tell you how you're going to provide cataract surgery for people in Liberia, because you don't even know what it is.
Because, Eric, all you know is you want to be healthy. You don't know the process for you maintaining your health, for you to have good nutrition, for you to have preventive measures.
Okay, when men get older, they have a problem where they can't pee. That's due to something called an enlarged prostate. Guess what? They can fix that. The urologist that does these operations, he can do about let me see, I'm gonna Dr. Cord. He can do about 3 of them a day. So if he works 3 days a week, he can do 9. Okay? So all of these old people who are in the village, they're having a hard time peeing. These things can be fixed.
And that's the improvement.
Okay? People who have hemorrhoids, where they go to the bathroom and they're bleeding from their rectum. These are things that people fix in their office in America. In their office.
And the procedure is not that long.
The procedure takes all of 15 minutes to do. Okay? But you don't know this. But yet you believe that I need your opinion as to how this is to be done. And so my point is, you don't even know what you don't know. That's your challenge.
So, George, let's move on to the next item. Like I was saying, expanding education, which is important. We already know Mr. Cummings has a STEM school, but there's a high level of focus on STEM education and training people in a job-related way, that they are prepared right away to get there. And there's a plan behind that. Once you train that individual, how do you transition them into the workforce? All of those things take planning. Not just train people and you don't have an option for them. So it's very important. They're underlying all those things. There's some cross-cutting stuff. Governance and security, we're just talking about that. Our national security is threatened when we have these kind of disruptions by the CDC, COP, and other people, and there's nothing done about it. So it affects us from a security standpoint, physical, mental. It affects us from an economic standpoint and from a social standpoint. And even it will affect some people coming to the polls instead of knowing there will be violence during the election. They don't want to be bothered. So on all of that governance and security, we put clean hands, which is anti-corruption, which Mr. Cummings has been demonstrated totally that he's against corruption. he comes with integrity, he comes with credibility, and he plans to plug these leakages in our system. And somebody was asking earlier about data and systems, and that's where it comes in. George himself would say all the time, if you gain the opportunity to steal, you will steal. Even though he said we should look for people who are inclined towards honesty. But
if there's an opportunity to steal without being caught, I'm going to steal. Exactly. I'm going to just tell you that right now. Right. Okay? Y'all don't even pretend. Let me tell you something. If somebody got $10 million over here and I can take $2 million of it and nobody will know that I took it, or there will be no consequence for that, I'm taking that $2 million.
And that's what
happens. And guess what? And then I will pay Eric's school fee and he'll be dancing for me every day. With his own money.
And that's what's happening. It's people's own money that should be benefiting them, that these government officials use and then give them peanuts and they're
right. And they come and make noise for the people.
So again, our national security comes on there, and then foreign policy. Foreign policy drives a lot of stuff. If you have a minister of foreign affairs who can even travel to certain countries, who can come to the US where a significant number of goodwill, relationship, and other things can be established, and he can't do that, how can he be effective? Okay, foreign policy, your disposition towards the rest of the world, how you engage in, determines what kind of bilateral or multilateral relationships you can have. How do you identify win-win situations for you and other countries? You know, we got a significant opportunity with our cocoa industry, with our palm industry. How are we leveraging that? How are we adding value domestically? How are our input numbers going up? All of those things factor in from a foreign policy perspective. And where are our citizens needing us as Liberians? You know,
I'm reading, and Agatha Shelley say, "I'm less busy." Yeah, you're right.
Yes. Joe, why you even?
No, I like when people make these kind of silly comments. People who in Liberia who don't even work, okay, who have to hustle for minutes on their phone. You telling me I'm less busy? You know why I'm less busy? Because I live in a society where technology allows that I don't have to get up out of my house at all in order to go to work and make money.
And a lot of people don't understand that. They got to see.
I never have to leave my house.
They got to see the sun carrying wheelbarrow. They don't know the power of intellectual.
The way I'm sitting down here, you don't even know if I got trousers on. You don't know. Okay, I don't have to do any of those things. Okay? But less busy. What are you busy doing in Liberia? I dare you tell me the work you're doing in Liberia.
Nothing. Sadly, nothing. Most likely nothing. And even if you're doing something, it's not meaningful to the contribution of national development because it's just limited. Few people, you know.
Reggie, let me ask you to go to populationpyramid.com.
Yeah, Reggie, I was saying my number. I give my number to anybody because I'm scared to tell people, no, I can't talk to you. Reggie, my number is 301-655-5984. I will talk to everybody, though. I'll give you 1 or 2 seconds. If you come with nonsense, that's the freedom of giving you my number. I can hang up. But I give my number to anybody. And
okay, Isaac, is actually populationpyramid.net. Can you post that link?
Populationpyramid.net.
Populationpyramid.net. They can go there and see the projections for the population of Liberia.
Yeah, and
you can see the projections. Okay, so what people actually do until you have a census, we can at least go with this statistical measurement. Because not only does population pyramid, you can post, Isaac, the actual link for, you see where it says country?
Yeah, I'll go into the site now.
Yeah, click there and you will see Liberia.
So I'll go to Liberia and then I will share the link and show it on the screen so people can understand our population. And look, our population is growing.
And you can do the projections for the next 10 years. Okay, so you can see right now it says we have 4,900,000, and then you can see where it will be at 2030. It will be 6,300,000. You can see where it will be at 2040. It will.
At 4.9 was back in 2019. So you can look at the projection year by year, and you can see we're on a 2 to 3% growth rate, right? So it's important for people to understand these things, George. And I'm glad some of these they can be considered diversions, but they're actually opportunity for us to share with people. And some people don't know where to find information. So the link I posted is populationpyramid.net. Then you search on this down arrow here. It got the rest of the world, but we're searching for Liberia. And then the specific year of this table comes up. So here's the population number here. If you go by year, okay.
You just click on the graph.
So the intersection of the year and the graph is this point right here. That's the 4.9. If you go like 2021, 2020, that's 2025. The graph is so somewhere in here.
So click on 2030. Go to the intersection of 2030, right?
2030 is 6.3 million.
Right.
So these things are projected. I've done some of those kind of projections with elections numbers and all that kind of stuff. And you can see. So
let me come back to my good friend Agatha, who says that what am I doing for the people in Liberia? Guess what? I'm not your damn government. Okay, that's the short answer. I'm not your government. That's who you should be asking the questions of. I'm a private citizen. It's not my responsibility to build or do anything for anybody in Liberia. Okay? It's not my responsibility. That's the role of government. That's why I'm saying to you all, you need to elect a government that you will be able to ask, what are they doing for the people of Liberia? Without them busting you in the head. So obviously you don't understand that. But one of the things I've always said, Isaac, Liberia is the only country in the world where people attack private citizens for not building the country while the people in government steal everything.
Because these are sycophants for government who trying to protect government, George. It's just plain and simple. It's very plain and simple. Like the example that he was giving about the whataboutism. What about this?
Agatha, let me tell you how stupid that statement you just made, that you don't have to be in government. How many kids in Liberia have to go to school? And let's say we want to spend $200 a year on every kid in Liberia who is in school from grade 1 to 12. How many people are there, Isaac? Let's say we have 2 million of them. 2 million people times $200. You know how much money that is? But you expect private citizens to solve that problem.
To come up without 400 million.
You expect private citizens to come up with $400 million. And I can tell you that the government of Liberia has not even allotted $75 million to education. But they're the ones who are in charge of all of the resources. Okay? They're the ones who are the stewards of everything that's coming into the country. But you are saying to private citizens, you guys are the ones who should contribute the bulk of the $400 million that is required for education in Liberia. How does that sound? You are a beggar nation. And for some reason, you believe that the root of your problem comes from people who are private citizens not contributing to government, rather than the people who are in the government. Your representatives who are paid more than the representatives in the United States. This is what you believe.
It's just sad. So, people do offer up, wonderful points here, and we really appreciate them. This one, Liberia needs our own private sector, but also need to compete with the foreigners. That's part for the course. But there's Liberia.
But here's the thing.
There's Liberia.
Liberia doesn't need to compete with the foreigners, because guess what? If you go to Ghana as a Liberian, as a citizen of ECOWAS, you cannot just walk into Ghana and start a business.
No, you cannot.
Okay, so why are we competing with foreigners in Liberia? But I will wait for Agatha to tell me that I'm the one who's supposed to be doing something about education when your government doesn't even protect private business.
Oh man, I missed this from Dwalu. Dwalu, if you stay on calling, I'll send you the link. For you to join. Sorry, I didn't see your comment. I was sharing.
Who Dwalu?
Oh man, Dwalu. You know Dwalu from CCL?
Okay. So here you are telling me about what I'm supposed to do when you have Chinese people in Liberia doing waiter market work, and the government does nothing to protect Liberians so that they can't engage in that kind of business. Every company that is started by a foreigner in Ghana, Ghanaians have to be the majority owner of that company.
They don't understand. 51% easy. So
Okay.
many Ghanaians have become millionaires simply because companies had to sign with them.
Exactly. And it is those people now who can now develop Ghana. And guess what? Everybody in Ghana doesn't want to be president.
But back
They don't.
Everybody in Liberia did not want to be president back in the day. Everybody did not want to be president.
Okay. But you all don't seem to understand how these things work. If your government does not work to protect you, even in commerce, you're not going to be able to do all these things. And you sit down and telling people, oh, you're less busy because you're not sending me no money. You're not sending me everything. You know how much money people in America send to Liberia every year? Over $300 million.
I mean, more than that.
Every year. That's the foreign remittance by private citizens. Do you know what would happen to Liberia if private citizens didn't send that money to Liberia? People would starve.
So people, you guys have to understand.
And you have the nerve to sit there and tell me about I'm less busy and what have I done? The 300 million that Liberians are sending from the international community to Liberia, you people don't even appreciate that.
Nobody, they're stealing some of the people's money.
Your entire government budget is $800 million. Okay, I will tell you who stopped me from investing in Liberia. The lack of a strong investment protection
but we discussed that
system in Liberia.
We can understand.
Yes. You don't have any way to protect my investment. People walk on the street, you attack them, you're fighting with them, you're breaking stuff up. Why would anybody want to make investment?
And if the president fee you're not costing, he can send anybody to break down your store, your whatever.
Right.
I mean, come on, people. We need to change the way we govern. That's what
Liberians overseas remit enough money to Liberia to be about to as much as 40% of your national budget. That's what Liberia relies on for social service, is the social safety net.
Look, George, these are some of these young people, they are just so, how should I say, CDC oriented. They had a glorious vision of what CDC could do, and CDC had done the right thing. Yes, that vision was being realized. Unfortunately, CDC screwed up the greed of,
I mean, listen,
all of those people.
I supported Ellen Salif, but you can go to my site and find the extreme and blistering criticism.
But George, what more? You wanted for Ellen to step down. You were
right.
That effort.
Because of her poor performance in Ebola, I publicly asked her to resign.
Exactly. That's what.
And she was the president I supported.
And that's the embarrassment many of my young CDC friends are facing. They don't want to admit that this government has screwed up and dashed most of their promises. Just imagine, many of them were 18, 19, 20. They were 12 years in opposition. So they were 30, 31, 32 by the time they came to power. Over the last 4 or 5 years, there are no more youths again because you have added 5 years to that 30, they are 35 and upwards. And what has the CDC done in terms of creating an environment? Because government cannot employ everybody, but creating an environment for them to thrive, for them to be successful, for them to start their own businesses and be able to stay on their own feet. No, the people wanted to beg them, can't kiss their shoes, kiss their rings. What else they need for them to wake up to know that these people don't care about them? I just don't understand. But
so Agatha, you think people are sending money to Liberia to build roads and to build schools? That's not the job of private citizens. And that's a part of the big problem you guys have in Liberia. You think private people need to do this?
I got issue.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Agatha. Where's the tax credit for people who want to invest in Liberia? What kind of tax credit?
George, none of these people who they will send to undermine these discussions have any real knowledge of how the country runs. The people who in power don't even have a deeper understanding of how the country runs or how it's supposed to run. So they're prodigies, they're surrogates, and they're
Jefferson Koji, who is sending people to beat up people in Monrovia, in 5 years has not come up with a plan to keep Monrovia clean. 5 years. He has not come up with a plan to get rid of trash in a city of 1.5 million people.
And look at Agatha. She said Bill's gay. BILLSGAYE. Then are the person you're arguing with, George? No, George, try, man. So just to finish the discussion on Mr. Cummings' platform, that last piece I talked about education. We really need to revamp our education system. We need to make it targeted. Not everybody has to go to brick and mortar school and finish high school.
Not everybody has to go to college.
Not everybody has to
we need people who are professionals with trades. Listen, we need people who are bricklayers. We need people who are tile layers. We need people who can put up sheetrock. We need people who can do all these different skills jobs. And they don't have, but everybody doesn't have to go to LU and be a political science major. As a matter of fact, if I were ever president of Liberia, I would shut down the political science department at LU. That's the first thing I would do. Okay, y'all go learn real science. Okay, instead of spending your day in the Hatai shop talking nonsense about things you can't do. All the days Koji spent in the Hatai shop, he can't come up with a plan to keep Monrovia clean. How hard is it? People are creating trash. You take the trash to a location. You designate a place that is the dump, the city dump, and all the trash is then taken to that place, and you do it every week, twice a week. Why you can't come up with that plan? So you know why? Because they've never seen it before. You people don't know any better. You wake up in the morning, you get up next to filth. You go to school next to filth. You eat next to filth. And somebody comes and tells you that it doesn't have to be that way. And your response is, what you not do for me?
And George, that's the poverty mindset. You yourself described that poverty mindset, but you yourself, you can get over it, and you're taking some of the stuff that people are saying as something serious. I mean, look, anybody who can come and curse me all day long is irrelevant to the message I'm trying to send. So,
but when you're suffering and you don't even know that you're suffering.
But that's part of this.
This is what I find so painfully disturbing.
George, let me ask you
something. You don't even understand how much you are suffering.
George, let me make it simple for you. George, many of these white people in this country who are born into a racist family, do you think they know the racists?
I no, they don't.
Exactly. So many of these young people are born, they got to go outside to pee-pee, they got to go outside to poo-poo, they got to go outside to find water to drink. There is nothing that you can call inside or house activity that most of them do except sleep. They can even have conversation in the house because most of them, they got one room in that hallway. So they don't even have a living room where they can have a discussion. They got to sit outside. So everything is outside. So their understanding of even what it is to have a home is absent first. Then when you go to the basic things when it comes to school, some of them go to school one semester, their mom or ain't got the time money to pay the other one. So most of them, like they said, they study is I think 2.4 years of actual education. Most of them get up to 18 years. So it's not an easy thing for these people to understand some of the things that we're trying to convey. So you cannot be getting upset or vexed with them because the limitation is there. It's about exposing their minds and trying to educate them and trying for them to understand. The ones who want to listen will listen, they will make progress. The other ones who don't want to listen and want to be sycophants and want to be surrogates of incompetent leadership that does not care for them, that's where they will be. At some point, our generation will be out. And who will be there to provide advice for them? That's when things will really start.
So Agatha, I want you to answer me one question. One question. Are you happy with where you are right now? That's all.
She will lie and say yes.
No. I just want her to answer the question honestly. Are you happy with where you are right now? Because here's the thing. Good. Then guess what? I'm happy for you too. You just solved the problem. If you are happy with where you are right now, then it means there's nothing I can do to make you happier. Okay? So it's good. All right, you know what? I'm going outside by my swimming pool.
So again, that's my whole message for this coming election. If the people feel that the situation right now is fine, they are okay, great. Vote the way you want to vote. Because
exactly.
For continuity. If you feel what was happening before with Ellie and stuff were all right where you want to be, vote for Joseph Boyka. Maybe he can restore what it was. But if you want a future, if you want progress, if you want where your potential could be most likely realized, the kind of governance that can exist under in Alexander B. Cummings, then you vote for Cummings. The choices are very simple for our Liberian people. And to the extent that we can educate them on those things, that's it. So, folks, we appreciate this particular session. It was a little lively. George was engaging our folks out here. But the reality of the situation is, at the end of the day, each Liberian who goes to the poll will have to make a decision. Am I better off today than what I was 5-6 years ago? Will I be better off next year, the year after, 5 years down the road, on Joseph Boyka, on Alex Cummings, or on George Weah?
Understanding how far behind you are right now.
Oh, but I hope they know we are way.
We must run while other people walk, because we are that far behind. But again, like I said, Agatha, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%, old lady. Okay? If you're happy, I'm happy for you. So let's leave it there. Come back to class next week. Be ready. Do some research. Okay? And let's continue this discussion about the development of Liberia.
You see what Diane said? We are teaching the kids at our school in Mowe how to use flush toilets.
Isaac, listen, I think I told you this story before, and let me tell these guys. When I came to Liberia in 2007, and I was leaving to go to Ghana to come to the States, a lady asked me to take her nephew, who had been living in Liberia, to his mother in Ghana, who was in the refugee camp. And so this kid was about 7 or 8 years old. I said, okay. Took the kid, went to Accra, was staying at a friend's house. Friend gave me my own suite, everything. Walk in the room, and I flicked the light switch, the light came on.
Magic.
That little boy went to that thing, and he pushed that thing up and down about 7 or 8 times. And just as I was about to yell at him and say, stop playing with the light, it clicked to me. He had never seen a light switch in his 8 years of life. The only light he had seen was the light where you pull the string and the light come on or it go off. But to stand 15 or 20 feet and flick that switch and turn it on, he'd never seen it before. Okay? And so when people talk about the low IQ of people in Liberia, people say, oh, that's a discriminatory term. But I'm looking here where Daniel Mayer is saying that he's teaching people how to use a flush toilet.
But George, you didn't hear the stories about the coup after the coup happened when the people came to Monrovia, when someone named?
Okay, so the point I'm making is that when you don't know, this kid was fascinated. So take that same kid and measure him against an 8-year-old in America. Okay, who, when I buy a television, I just give him the remote and say, tell me how to use it. Because he can figure it out. I have to literally sit there and read the book. And that kid takes that remote and he said, okay, this button does this button does that, this button does that. And before in 30 minutes, he's figured out the whole TV.
But they put tablets with apps down in one of these African countries where the children couldn't read or write. And no kids figure out how to use that thing. The children are smart. They are just,
and it's all about exposure.
Yes.
It's all about exposure. And this is what people don't understand. And that experience with that kid told me how far behind developmentally Liberian kids are. And so we need to make a huge push. The government needs to make a huge push to get these services to these people. Okay? I would not be giving a permit to build anything in Monrovia.
George, you should see some of the stuff that people are building in the swamp, in the water, knowing rainy season coming, it will be flooded.
But here's the thing, okay? At this point, to continue to build in Monrovia is to take away services from other parts of the country that need it. Because you have to continue to provide services. And because the number of services are finite, it means you're going to have to cut services from Greenville. It means you're going to have to cut services from Harper. It means you're going to have to cut services from those other places. So stop building in Monrovia. Stop providing electricity in Monrovia. Spend that money building solar in all of those different places and let people go there and do commerce there.
And that's that. Look, I have, proffered this suggestion. I believe if 15 development-oriented Liberians go to each of the different counties, they can change this country. They can change this country around. But the problem is people just want to be in Liberia. Sometimes you got to bear the hardship, the lack of infrastructure in the counties, and deal with them for a little bit.
It's not that, Isaac. It's not that. I would challenge you on that. It's not about the hardship. It's about governance.
Oh, but I agree. But government has to.
Nobody wants to. Okay, let's say I decided I'm going to take my family to Greenville and we're going to lay off the land. You see, Eric? Okay, we're going to live off the land. Because the government controls everything, you can't even do that without them interfering. So if I came to Liberia and said I wanted to open a school, if I wasn't a government supporter, they would harass me and shut down my school.
Again, no, but I don't disagree with that environment. It has to be created without question. A lot of people say, oh, you can't do that. No, you can't do it because government will stop you. Government is politically driven. A lot of people got goodwill, but they cannot exercise that goodwill because one, that government official who's supposed to sign that paper is not eating on it. Two, that government official is not, it doesn't relate to him in terms of the service that person want to provide for the country. Why is that positive? So those are issues.
So let me leave you guys. I will close with this message.
Yeah, this is a real close-up because after George finished.
In Liberia, government officials believe that they must personally benefit from every transaction that they are involved in, whether that transaction is free or not.
Yes, it has been.
A friend of mine, an American friend of mine, told me, he said, Liberia is the only country I know where you have to pay people to give them something that's free.
And that's a fact. It's just a fee. But so, folks, thank you for listening. There has been a very vibrant discussion, very interactive. Look, for some of you who really feel strongly about some thoughts, come on. Let other people hear you. You are welcome to ask to come on the show and be a part of the discussion, because this is a learning platform. This is somewhere where we really want people to reimagine what a better Liberia is. Then how do we restart some of these things, and how do we actually rebuild? The how is so critical, and that's why.
Eric, it's raining today. That's why I'm not sitting by the swimming pool. Honestly, it's raining. But next week, it will not be raining. I'll be there. I will see you guys, man.
All right. Later, everybody. Take care. Eric, peace, man.